Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is our 70th episode, 3 investment facts for 2019. Cory, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We might have to start letting you do the intro again, like it's your show,
I appreciate that.
because you're here all the time.
I'm just kind of looking at the camera, listening to you talk.
But I'm waiting for you to go on a honeymoon, vacation, maybe St. Louis, but none of that's happening.
Good thing the marriage only happens once.
That's just, well, hopefully.
Hopefully only happens once, because I'd hear about it for the rest of my life.
Now, aren't you, but you're going, towards the end of December, you're going somewhere, right?
To St. Louis.
Gotcha. So I'll probably need a sub at that point.
Yep.
So there you go.
I might be here actually for the recording, so.
Oh yeah, you never know. We do these all different times.
True.
We're doing this one in the evening. So after hours, after the market's closed, we decided to, for today's show, fill everyone in on 3 very important investment facts to know for 2019. So Cory, why don't we just dive into it? Why don't you kick us off with number 1? What's the number 1 fact people should know about their investments this year?
Don't be fooled by your returns.
Good. So as of the recording of this show, which is in early December, the S&P 500 is up over 23%, 24%. So as such, if you're invested in S&P 500 like stocks, in fact, even the bond market's up, maybe not that much, but the bond market's up maybe 7 or 8%, your account should be up this year.
Right.
Barring being invested in something weird or outlandish, your account, depending on how diversified you are or how conservative or aggressive you are, should be up somewhere between, what would you say, 8 and 20%, 8 and 23%, right? If you had it all in bonds, you should expect it to be up around 8%. If you have it all in stocks, it should be up around 23%.
It's one of those years where you'd have to try really hard to not make money.
Now, the people that are losing money are probably in very high fee products or something that maybe is illiquid. Maybe hedge funds probably haven't done great if they're shorting the market.
It depends on how they're investing.
Yeah, something a little bit more complicated. But the other point of this is so good. So we all know that your account should be up. But if your advisor is not the one picking the stocks and bonds, unfortunately, they're probably not the ones that deserve the credit, right? It's the investments advisors themselves. So if you're using mutual funds, you should be looking at those mutual funds and looking at them individually and seeing how they're up. If you're using exchange traded funds, how are they doing? But if your advisor is picking the stocks and bonds, which is what we do at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we're happy to take the credit when we do well, and we're also happy to take the blame when we do poorly.
Right.
But again, if your financial advisor is not picking the stocks and bonds, then it's really not them that deserve the credit. It's the third-party money manager. If your 401k is up like it should be, that's great. The mutual funds in your 401k have done a good job this year. It's been, like you said, a really hard year not to make money. So number 1 is, don't be tricked into thinking that you necessarily have a good advisor because your investments are up. If they're not the ones picking the investments, then they probably shouldn't be the ones taking the credit for the good year.
Right, and I think maybe to just frame that a little bit of a different way, but a quick point I want to make is taking the credit, taking the blame, however you want to view all of that. The reality is no one can control whether or not the market goes up or down.
Good point.
But I guess from my standpoint, I would encourage someone at the end of the day, your barometer of whether or not you have a good advisor should not have to do with your investment returns.
Good one. Absolutely. Especially, and when I'm going with this at the next level, especially if they're not the ones buying the stocks and bonds. Again,
Yes.
we at Falcon Wealth Advisors, our 2 big agendas for our clients is, first and foremost, we want to help them with their financial plan. You and I are retirement guys, so we want to help people manage their retirement, plan for it, enter retirement, enjoy retirement. And then we chose not to outsource the money management to a third party. We actually pick the stocks and bonds. So we have two agendas. We need to execute on the planning for our clients, and we need to execute on the investments.
Yes.
And we take that. But just like you said, ultimately, you and I still can't control the market. There's going to be years when your account is down.
Yes.
And it's nobody's fault. It's not the mutual fund. It's not the index fund. It's not our fault. Sometimes stuff just happens. You just want to make sure that whomever's managing the money, since this show's about investments, that they're competent, they have a process, and they know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And just like, again, real quick on that too, if your advisor's using mutual funds and they have a bad year, well, that's not that advisor's fault either. right?
Exactly.
It's a mutual fund's
That's
fault.
my point.
Right. So again, you just want to peel back the onion a little bit. Recognize, don't be fooled by performance. Don't let that be a measurement of your advisor. Take a look at what they're actually doing for you, that the services that they are offering and the control that they do have, and make sure they're executing on those for you.
Bingo. If I'm your client, I'm not going to make my determination of whether or not you're great or awful at your job based upon my investment returns.
So good. So that's a good one. So number one fact, don't be fooled by investment performance when you're judging your advisor.
What's number two?
Number two, since we've had a good year, all right, so we get it. The stocks are up, right? Bonds are up. So what do? Well, what we do is we rebalance. Very, very critical that you're looking at your portfolio and rebalancing. You don't want to do something that I call round tripping it, which basically you ride a stock up and then you ride it all the way back down, right? Because inevitably, there's something, what the market does, it's called reversion back to the mean, meaning we have really good years and we have really bad years, and over time it averages out. So let's take this really good year and let's take some money out of stocks, maybe take some money out of individual stocks that have done well, and let's put that in bonds, let's put that in something that maybe hasn't done as well. Again, we want to sell when things are high and we want to buy back in when other things are low.
I've heard that before.
Right, rebalance. I can't stress that enough. And don't just rebalance to rebalance. And I think we talked about this on a previous show. You should be rebalancing towards a target allocation. So for example, if you want half of your money in stocks and half of your money in bonds, if now that represents 55% in stocks because the stocks have done so well, let's take that 5% out of stocks and let's go put it back in bonds, right? Let's capture some profits. Let's sell high and let's buy something else that maybe hasn't done as well.
Yeah, and again, these parameters that you're talking about here, our strategy and our approach is not, we're not making it up off the cuff, right?
Right.
And you and I, they've been teaching this at Wharton, at the University of Pennsylvania, where we've both gone to study, is the appropriate way to manage money for a very long time. That's why we do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would love to take the credit, Cory. If you and I had invented our investment strategy, we'd be extremely wealthy guys. We probably wouldn't have any clients. We'd probably be just teaching class somewhere and writing books and being interviewed all over the world. But we're just using a time-tested approach that the University of Pennsylvania's school has done a great job educating people on. And we just execute it with discipline. It's all math-based. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about rebalancing. Let the math tell you what to do. Don't let your gut feel dictate your investment decisions. Very good. So what about number three? Do you remember number three?
What about number three?
So number three.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Number three, it's fine. That's why we're together on the show. Number three is don't let taxes lead your investment decisions. Now, I get it. We're in December. If you can delay a taxable event by delaying a trade until January, absolutely, that's something to consider, but that shouldn't be your primary focus. They taught this very early on when you're getting your licenses, is that investment performance is primary over tax consideration. The good point here is gains are good, right? It's okay to pay capital gains taxes. That means you made money. Nobody, typically likes paying a high tax bill, but in the end, I would much rather see a client sell something high, lock in a gain, even if they have to pay some taxes, than wait, and then, eventually the stock goes down and you lose all your gains, and then what? Just to save some tax money? So again, taxes should not be a leading indicator, but I say this very, very importantly, that this video today or this podcast is not for advice. You definitely should be sitting down with your tax advisor, with your financial advisor, the people managing your money, and make sure that you're making smart decisions, because it may make sense to realize some gains or losses, right? So again, but don't let that lead your decisions. Don't be penny wise and dollar dumb. Right?
I think people maybe obsessed might be too strong of a word, but people in our industry really like to talk about this at the end of the year, about tax planning. And it's absolutely smart to be aware of what's going on from a tax standpoint. But you wouldn't go spend $1 to save 30 cents, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's kind of exactly what we're talking about here.
Right. If it's time to capture a gain, you want to capture the gain, right? But again, you can be tactical about it. You can be smart. You don't want to do anything stupid. You don't want to realize just a bunch of gains just to do it. If you can delay till January, perfect. But again, there's no reason to wait. You don't want to lose money. If something's up in value and your advisor's suggesting you sell it, or if your tax advisor is suggesting you sell it, then do it. Again, don't be penny wise and dollar dumb.
Let me give one quick example here. There's a client, and I think if he's watching this, he's probably going to know that I'm referring to him, but I'm not going to use his name. That's okay. had a lot of capital gains last year in 2019, and we were evaluating in the fourth quarter of last year what positions we could realize losses on to try to help offset his gains. But ultimately, we concluded, just like we're talking about now, because the fourth quarter of last year, the market went down a lot.
It did.
We said, well, we could realize more losses to help offset the gain, but what happens if the market turns around quickly? And we sold a bunch of stocks and we're sitting in cash. Sure enough,
that's what happened.
The market bottomed on Christmas Eve, and then it rallied hard in the first quarter of 2019. And we had a discussion in March or April, and we ultimately both agreed, I'm glad that we didn't realize these losses just to help with taxes, because I would have been out a lot more than I had to pay.
It's a really good example. Just remember, you're looking at your performance in the rearview mirror. Nobody knows what the future holds. So you have to be very careful when making decisions that you look at both sides of the coin.
Yep.
The market could go up, the market could go down. What does that mean?
Yep.
Yeah, very good. That's a good example. And I'm sure they appreciated you talking them through that and not just doing what they suggested or not just doing a strategy very quickly. We're very methodical in our advice. We're certainly quick to respond to our clients, but we're going to weigh all the options. And that's what people hire us for.
Yep.
Right? We're here to protect them, help them make good decisions, and ultimately so that their money can, inspire them to live the lives that they want to live. That's
right.
Really why we all work so hard. Very good. So that's our quick show. So again, 3 recaps real quick. So the 3 facts on your investments for 2019. Don't be fooled by performance. Almost everything's up. Your account should be up. Good. We really celebrate that in 2019. Number 2, rebalance, or definitely take a look at rebalancing. If your advisor's not doing it for you, which we are doing because we have discretion on our clients' accounts, so it's very easy for us to do that for our clients. But definitely take a look at that. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you might want to look at rebalancing or at least look at what your target weightings are at. And then 3, don't let taxes dictate your investment decisions. They should be a secondary consideration, not the primary consideration.
That's great.
All right, very good. So to wrap up our show today, I did want to do another lightning round. It's been a while since we've done one.
Okay.
So I've got some questions here. I've got some 5 rapid fire questions for the Bird of Prey lightning round, sponsored by Falcon Wealth Advisors.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the clock here. And again, I just want to hear your first responses. We're not going to hold you to any of these answers, and there is no prize.
Okay.
All right, tell me about the Chiefs. What's their ending record? How far did they go? Did they win the Super Bowl?
They are going to have 5 losses. So that would put them, 11-5?
Correct.
And I think that they will go to the Super Bowl. Let's be optimistic.
All right. Will they win?
Sure.
Who do they play?
Ooh, the Seahawks.
Okay, the Seahawks are that good? I thought the Niners were pretty good.
They are.
Seahawks. Okay, Chiefs, Seahawks, and the Super Bowl. Chiefs win. All right, you heard it here
You
first.
said we're not going to hold me to it.
You heard it here first. All right, so 2019, we think the S&P 500 is going to end the year somewhere up around 20% plus, perhaps. What happens in 2020? What's your S&P 500 2020 prediction? I know you hate doing this because it's a fool's game, but what's your prediction?
That it will close on December 31st.
Okay, but do you know what the return
I know you're
is?
looking for more than that.
What's the return going to be?
13%.
You think it's okay? Very good. What about a recession? When is that going to happen?
2021.
Okay. Will Trump get reelected?
Yes.
All right. And then what's your favorite holiday movie?
Trading Places.
Yeah, mine too. I knew you were going to answer that one. It's a good one. Who's your favorite character in that movie?
Oh, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, me too. He does.
I'm trying to blank on his name in the movie, the character's name, but Eddie Murphy. What is his name? Winthorpe? No, not Winthorpe.
No.
Louis Winthorpe is Dan Aykroyd's character. Valentine.
Bobby Valentine?
That's the old Red Sox manager.
I think it is. I don't remember.
I know it's Valentine.
Yeah, it's something Valentine.
If we both love this movie, you'd think we'd know, but anyway, that's all right.
Dan Aykroyd's in it. Who's the lady?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Eddie Murphy. If you haven't seen Trading Places, I highly recommend it. I think it's good any time of year.
Agreed.
But I think they play it a lot more during the holidays. You and I are stock guys, so that's why we like it. But it's really, really good. I agree. It's some really good acting in there, a lot of good comedy.
Speaking of movies, let me throw one last quick thing at you about, because I'm curious if you have.
All right.
I think I know the answer to this. Do you and Rachel, do you have Disney Plus?
No.
So have you heard about okay, well, either way.
Do you?
We do.
Why?
Cassie wanted to have it.
All right. Okay. So what were you going to ask
There's
me?
a new Star Wars show that's on there.
Oh, okay. It's a show or a movie?
It's a show.
Interesting.
And I'm sure, as you've probably seen if you've been on the internet, that the kind of like the pop culture phenomenon from the show is that they have Yoda as a baby on the show. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
No.
You're probably the only person in the world that hasn't seen this. But anyway, never mind.
Is it good? Is the show good?
It is. But what I was getting at is I think it's interesting that this has become like this huge, people are like obsessed with this baby Yoda, but somehow people didn't see that coming. And as a result, everyone's like upset that there's no toys or anything for the holiday season this year that they can buy, that they didn't have any merchandise or anything ready.
Wow, I'm
and now
surprised that
everyone's
they
like,
didn't.
I can't believe that. Everyone thought that they released this show, Disney Plus, all of it, the timing intentionally around being able to sell stuff at the holidays.
And they're not ready?
They didn't have anything.
Do you think they'll push it out?
They're trying, but they've talked about, interestingly enough, about how people on like Etsy are capitalizing off of this. People that make their own stuff and sell it.
Wow.
Anyway,
I don't know anything about it.
I'm surprised by that. I truly am.
Rachel loves Star Wars, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get it soon.
It's great, by the way, and it's totally different than a
What do
lot
you
of
mean?
the movies.
Aren't they all the same?
No.
Oh, Star Wars.
The show, yes. The show is.
I'm not much of a
Separate
sci-fi
from the
guy.
movies.
Is it
Really?
all spaceships and
It doesn't like
lightsabers?
No nostalgia there for you?
No. Lightsabers? Is all that going on?
No, not yet.
Baby Yoda? Does he
Yeah.
talk?
Not really. Just kind of. It's like a baby. It makes noises, right?
Wow. Hey, now, does Disney Plus, do they, don't you have to wait every week for the show to come out? They don't roll it all out like Netflix.
Correct.
Right?
So there's 4 chapters is what they're calling them that are out. But the whole concept of the show is that it doesn't exist. You don't have to know a whole lot about the Star Wars movies. You just have to understand the concept of what the Star
Interesting,
Wars
so I could
universe
get it.
is, and it's its own storyline completely.
Wow. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to
I like
ask
it a lot.
Okay. We'll have to ask Rachel about that. Well, thanks for sharing.
Maybe I'm the dorky sci-fi guy.
No, my wife likes it. So anyways, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Certainly, if you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate all of our subscribers. And if you think it's worthy, we'd love a thumbs up button on this video. If you're listening to it on your favorite podcast medium, please, again, subscribe, like our content, share our content. This content is for you, our audience. You can also find us out there on all the various social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And Cory, what about you? You're on Twitter and all those too?
Yeah, I'm on all of those also. Twitter is probably what I'm most active on. And my Twitter handle is @Cory Bittner KC.
Perfect. Thanks again for tuning in, and we hope you all have a great week.